What do you think about leadership in Lebanon today?
It's interesting. There's some other industries that I think we could have maybe tried to hit, and maybe they have in the past, like TG Kentucky and stuff like that. But
Yeah, TG would have been a good one.
yeah, but it, uh, but even like the last one we went to, who knew that they were nationwide, right? I mean,
Yeah,
that's impressive, and there again, it goes to show you, you kind of make your own. You got to get some good breaks, but you meet some people, and then the next thing you know, you have more work than you're capable of, and you have a good business. And
I tell you, I just started this, which this is nothing, but like just doing this on top of regular work, I didn't realize like that there was actually overhead that come with doing this
oh,
too.
I believe it.
You know, because well, I didn't have to like LLC it or anything. Well, I didn't have to, but they recommend you do, and like do like trademark stuff just in case it were to take off.
Absolutely,
Like
absolutely, you do protect yourself, and I mean a brand. Hey, this is your brand.
it is, but let me tell you, dude, like it's some overhead, and now that like move now that I'm moving, just updating the address on all that paperwork.
Oh,
And the initial stuff, a lot of it you do electronically, but like if you have to make a change, you
yeah,
have to mail in and stuff like that, which I've got the vast majority of that done. It's just a headache, and then trying to locate, which I don't think I'm not going to have any difficulty getting a new job, but just trying to get in a new job and then get into a new job, get this business moved because this is a hobby. But like I said, there's overhead that comes with it. It's just, and then the moving in and of itself
yeah.
it's a lot, man. So kind of introduce yourself, tell people, your name, what you do, and talk a little bit maybe about your family.
Yeah, Joey Lee. I work for a Lebanon Waterworks company, but married and have 3 kids. Wife and I, we've been married since 2010. So, geez, it's been been a while, 15 years. Uh, Waited to a later age to have children, which is, I'm not saying that I'm the best dad, but I'm a lot better dad now than I would have been at a young age when I
For
was
sure.
still partying and stuff. But
Did you say you have three
3 kids, yep.
three kids?
Hmm.
Boys, girls?
2 girls and a boy.
Okay.
Yep. And my middle child, she's autistic. She's nonverbal autistic, which is a lot challenges of herself, but
Yeah.
she is the life of the party.
Okay.
For being a nonverbal child, uh, she's the life of the party. It's
Yeah.
never a dull moment without her. That's or with her. Let's put it that
Yeah.
way. So
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't want to. I don't know how you view, but the way you talk about it's more seems like more on the gift side, or you don't view it as a
no,
challenge or
well,
anything. It's a gift.
so for me, for me, I was not, let's say, born into it. Now, my wife, on the other hand, before we had children, her and her mother both uh, worked for the school system and was aides for autistic children.
Okay.
And they actually babysat autistic. So they had been around children that have been autistic, and was a very familiar world to them.
Yeah.
So to them, it wasn't anything new. For me, finding out about it and doing all this, it was very new. It was
Sure.
something it's a new world that if you don't know, you don't know. One of the great things that I'll say, and my wife says too, about our children is that our other 2 kids will have grown up in that world and appreciate children like that and other people
Yes.
like that, and they will be a lot more how either whatever you want to call responsible or more caring toward other people like that. To whereas maybe I wasn't, right?
Right.
So
Yeah. And I was just kind of curious. Did she? When did you all find out? And like, did she know beforehand? Did she have any?
no, no. So we found out we could tell at a young age. We
Yeah.
could tell before the age of 1, she was perfectly fine, just like any other baby. She could talk. She could say
Mm-hmm.
"mama," "dad," stuff like that, and not gonna say it was or it wasn't, but we could tell that after she got her 1-year shot, something
Yes,
totally
yes.
changed. And after talking to doctors later, and the way that I've been explained to it, and like I'm not a doctor, I don't know right or wrong, but the best way that I can explain it is that just like an allergic reaction, if you're allergic
Mhm,
to something, the shots can act differently to different people, and can,
mhm,
so for let's just say for every 900 kids that it does help, Lexi might have been the one kid that it didn't help,
mhm.
right? And
Yeah,
so it
I
would have
get
had
that.
maybe, maybe not. Maybe it was coincidence, but I truly believe that's,
Mhm.
that's about the time that it happened. And, she's, it's pretty interesting. She can communicate. We use the PECs. I don't know if you're familiar with PECs.
I'm not.
So basically it's a booklet of pictures, that have pictures that can range from vehicles to people to toys and so if she wants something, she can point to it, and then we know what she
Yeah,
wants, which is really interesting. She's learned a little bit. The teachers have tried to teach her sign language like more and stuff like that, and I'm very not familiar with that.
right.
My wife is more so. My wife also, she's a disabilities manager at Central Kentucky Community Action.
Okay.
So she's,
I wonder if I worked does she know me? 'Cause I worked there.
I mentioned that, yes.
Yeah.
I
But
don't know
she
if
may have worked at a different just
she,
department.
yeah, and she's moved. I don't know if she's moved in that very much, but
I didn't mean to interrupt you.
no, you're
It's my
good.
my ADD
No,
medicine.
no,
It just it's gone at the end of the day. So
no,
yeah,
you're good. But like I said, she can communicate, and she can understand. And I could tell her, Lexi, pick that up, and she'll pick it up, bring it to me. So she understands words. She just cannot bring the volume out. She can't.
yeah,
She can. She can laugh. She can cry. She can squeal. She can do all that. She
yeah,
just cannot put the words together.
yeah.
So
And that's you talking about the shots. I think that's something that makes sense, and I don't think that I think us just not even being able. I think you need to be able to talk about that because it's not like it's being what do you say one side is forcing their narrative down the other's throat or anything like that. It's like let's just talk about this and see what's going on. It's like this is just the timing. I'm not saying it was or not this, but it was but the timing line up and so maybe just maybe there was
right.
a reaction there.
Well, and me, I'm a common sense kind of person, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you came up to me and said that there was a possibility that it could have been something like that, and I'm not going to fault anybody, and I'm not going to say that, oh, we shouldn't be getting immunity shots and stuff like
Mm-hmm.
that. Personally, I haven't. I don't take the flu shot. I didn't take
Mm-hmm.
any of the COVID shots or anything like that, and but that was for other reasons why. Because at the time, I was doing survey work. I was out in the middle of nowhere. I wasn't around people.
Right.
I wasn't, and to this day, I haven't had the flu for over a decade, probably.
Yeah.
And I could say, well, maybe it's because everybody around me, they don't get the flu, or maybe they get the shots, or maybe I'm just not. Maybe my immune system is a little bit better, right? But
Yeah. Yeah.
for whatever reason, I just don't get the flu. Now I might get it tomorrow. Is it
Yeah.
it goes around, so I can get it tomorrow, and that's fine if I do. But just a common sense, like there are reason why there's more autism now than
Then
there's ever been,
yeah.
right? There's reasons, and it could be the obvious reason. It could be maybe it is genetic. We've never had anyone autistic in either of our families,
Yes.
so maybe it's the environment. Could it
Yeah.
be? Maybe.
Yeah.
But
I've thought a lot about stuff like this too, not just with the autism, but the rise in mental health disorders and in general. And I don't know, mental illness. The word mental illness or the phrase is still like somewhat accepted. I don't like it. I don't like it. Just doesn't sound good. But there but whether you call it mental health or mental illness or neurodevelopmental disorder, which falls under the umbrella of mental health, mental illness. I think a lot of it has to do with like our society has gotten so much more safer. And so it makes it more safe for it's safe to exist in, whereas in the past it may not have been safe to exist in. Like literally just genetics playing out, the strongest survived, and then and then now it's just kind of like we've made it safe for everybody, and now these that wouldn't maybe thrive on their own are able to get the support that they need and things like that. And when I say the strongest survive, I don't mean to imply there's a weakness there.
Correct.
I just mean that I mean like the support. I mean, undoubtedly there's a support needed there with Lexi.
Oh, yeah,
And so that we've made an environment that is safe for individuals to exist in, and therefore that might explain why we see more to a degree, maybe not wholly, but to a degree.
Absolutely. And it's education,
Yes.
right? It's even whenever I was in school, there were children that had disabilities, obviously, or couldn't be in classrooms, and you just didn't understand why. You're a kid. You don't you don't think about it. You're not educated to it. Whereas the more people are educated about it, the more that you are teaching younger children to be more passionate and compassionate toward other kids, whether they have whatever, even if it's just maybe they have braces, right?
Yeah.
and you, when you're a kid, you might tease a kid with braces, but it's just education and understanding. And, to your point too, about even with mental illness, the education part of it and the stress levels in which people put themselves in because of, for whatever reason, it could be expectations. It could be, I'm a person that probably puts more stress on myself. I have probably higher expectations of myself than probably anybody else does. And there's a lot of people like that. And not to say that's good, that's bad, but some people it doesn't even bother.
Do you feel like having that high expectation for yourself in a way is kind of keeping that carrot hung in front of your face to keep you moving forward a little bit? Or do you think that's just do you see it as do you see it as kind of good, kind of bad, or all good or all bad? What do you think?
I think for me personally, I try to hold myself to a higher standard for discipline.
Yeah.
So that, because it's easily to, once you hit a slippery slope, to, hey, if let's just do something, say something simple. It's easy to go out and have a few beers and drive home. Well, maybe the next time you have 6 beers and you drive, and the next, and it could be a slippery slope.
Yes.
Not to say, that's wrong or right or whatever, but just for me, for personal, if I can hold myself to a higher standard than everybody else, and if I don't quite achieve that, that still might be good enough for everybody else.
It might be good enough for everybody else.
It might not be good enough for me, but and I'm old enough to the point to where I could give 3 craps whether I'm accepted or not.
I'm trying to get there, man. I'm still trying to.
It takes some time. It takes some time, and a lot of it takes getting comfortable in your own skin. I mean, sometimes people are comfortable in their own skin, but sometimes it takes other things too, right? Just and maybe that could be part of caring too much about the people that you could hurt. Right?
Yes.
Or that you might think that are holding you to as high as a standard as you're holding yourself. And you don't want to disappoint them.
Right. You don't want to let anybody down.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I think it's a double-edged, I think it's a double-edged sword. But before we get too into it, everybody that comes on gets a gift.
All right.
Yeah. So you can feel free to open it, or you can save it for later. It doesn't matter. But yeah, I see that on the Sean Ryan show. It's a podcast I watch every now and then, and he gives every guest gets a gift, and so that's kind of what I like to do, is take things that I see from podcasts that I like, that I think are good, and just try to incorporate into my own. So you got you a little gift. I will say one of them in there is a shirt from my merch store.
Okay.
So
great.
But yeah.
Yeah, the logos.
Yeah.
I love the logo.
Yeah, I like it too. Yeah. I don't ever really get to do a plug for my merch store, but I do have one. and there's no like I fully, but aside from a handful of people that subscribe to Patreon, which is where I do my initial upload of the episodes. Aside from those, it's pretty. I fund probably 95% of this. So, uh, the merch store would be a great way for people to be able to support the podcast.
Absolutely.
But yeah, so um, I think we had good conversation going, and I want to revisit the family stuff before we finish up, but I do want to talk about why I initially asked you to come
Okay,
on
yeah,
today, and
gotcha,
that's because of your job. So, uh, and I think you already said it, but what is the title of your job again?
So my title is project manager,
Project
and I'm employed with Lebanon Waterworks, but we are also we have a management agreement with Springfield Sewer and Water, but we view ourselves as a big family, or I'd like to think that we do. And you've got some great people working for both organizations and doing really good job, really good work. And, started here in I guess it would have been August of 24.
Okay.
If I want to back up a little bit, I can tell a little bit about my history
You
or
go for it.
how I got
Yeah,
here.
go
So,
ahead and talk about whatever you feel is relevant to.
right. So let's go all the way back to high school. Getting out of high school, I saw myself. I was building houses. I was helping build houses during school, and I thought that that's what I wanted to do. And then graduated there, and then the winter of '98 or '97 hit. 1997, and it was cold.
Yeah.
And it was real cold, and said, "Man, do I really want to be out here in this snow building houses?" And I like that passion, but I thought, well, maybe I'll design houses and build houses, and maybe have my own company. And so to do that, let's go to school. Let's see about going to school and doing AutoCAD. Right now, AutoCAD is done in high school, so you can learn that there. But decided to move to Louisville and go to ITT Tech, which offered AutoCAD program. Had some friends that also went there, Darren Thompson, Jason Elder, and they had started fresh out of high school, and here I had lagged behind,
Mm-hmm.
6 or 8 months, or maybe even it was a year. But after that, as they had a really good reputation for being able to place you in a job. They pretty much guaranteed that they would get you a job out of college. And so, you know, as we got closer there, they was looking for placement, and there was a job that came open at Hibbs Engineering in Bardstown,
Mm-hmm.
doing civil engineering and surveying, which something all new to me. Never had done it, and they needed a CAD technician, so started working there, and had a lot of great people that I worked with there. A lot of people that are now very important engineers and city employees and professional surveyors and stuff. Had a really very good group of people that were very good in their field.
Mm-hmm.
And but was there, of course, being for a small company, you kind of got a ceiling, right? You're only going to go so far. And in 2007, I joined leadership Nelson County, and I met a guy by the name of Chris Lower there. And as we was going through it, he was a manager at Clayton Homes in
Mm-hmm.
Hodgenville, and they were looking for good people, and he's like, I'd love to bring you on my sales team. Won't you come and take a visit to my
Mm-hmm.
plant? Yeah. Sure, I'll check it out. And one thing led to another, and he said, "Look, we'd like for you to come on and be a part of the team, but I'm going to tell you what's happening is we built manufacturing homes, and we're losing money. We're not doing good. We got to rebuild this thing, or they're going to shut us down. There's a time limit on this." And he said, it's the risk is great, but the reward could be greater.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, let's come aboard. And I came aboard there, and along with they did a retool. I wasn't the only one. They brought in some other talented people, and within a year or so, we was no longer losing money, but we wasn't making a lot of money. We was to the point where we was breaking even, and we was trying to get over that hump.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Clayton Homes was a Berkshire Hathaway company, which is owned by Warren Buffett, and
Okay.
so he
Yeah.
knew the crash was coming before anybody, and
Yeah.
so he started cutting companies, and just so happened Clayton Homes Hodgenville was kind of an oddball. Uh, Clayton Homes was really notorious. A lot of their older factories and stuff are in Alabama,
Mhm.
Tennessee, in the South. And so, they even though we had turned the thing around and we was looking to actually do some good, we was still on the chopping block. So that
Mhm.
that happened.
Yeah.
Um,
And what was that for you? Like, how difficult of a transition did that start,
it
like,
it
become for you?
didn't because I was always raised that we'll work for money.
Yeah.
Hey, I'll do whatever it takes, whenever it takes, and I'll get ready to give you the reason why. Is shortly after that, you're looking for jobs. It's a down market. I was fortunate enough that I had a friend who uh, was. Well, let me think about this. I'm trying to. I may have my timeline a little bit mixed up. Um, After that, I did a few oddball jobs and
Mhm.
stuff, and built a couple buildings, and was kind of in the carpentry field. But then, also I had a friend who was building a hotel. He was a superintendent, building a hotel over in Radcliffe. He said, I just need a guy. I need some guy that I can trust, that can help, uh, take care of some things in between what the subs aren't taking care of, right?
Mhm.
Just look over everything, check the plans out, make sure stuff's going right. I need somebody.
Mhm.
And I was fortunate enough to work for him for a little while. And then also, with my AutoCAD background and stuff, had an engineer, Toby Spalding. He was over at Radcliffe, and he had a sidewalk project, and he needed someone to do some drafting on that. So then I also jumped in and worked with him there for a while, designing that project. And after that, um, you know, sometime there, I'm guessing sometimes in the 2010s when I got married,
Mhm.
uh, still needed still needed to work and needed jobs. So my dad, he had worked at Teledyne, which is a local forge factory here. Uh, we'll work for money. They needed somebody,
Mhm.
some line, so got in there and started working, just running the line. And you get a whole new appreciation for the work that people do if you don't know what they're doing,
Yes.
and you jump in there and you're
Which is, by the way, why I wanted to start this podcast.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely, and they would forge, they would make parts at 110 pounds, and
Yeah.
you would have to physically get in there and flip them and use
Yeah.
these big forge presses. And I worked third shift, never worked third shift in my life, and
Yeah.
it was a very dirty place, a lot of graphite. So you'd walk out there just, I mean, very dirty every single night, every single day, and people that worked there. But
Mhm.
hey, it was a job and good people, and then shortly after that, what happened was, got to looking and was looking for other jobs, obviously. But the engineer and surveyor at Hibbs Engineering that I used to work with, they had branched out on their own and created Horizon Engineering. And just so happened I was looking, and they were looking for a
Mhm.
field tech, somebody. So gave them a call and started working for them in 2013.
Mhm.
And it was great. Small company. There was four of us,
Mhm.
the surveyor, engineer. Took care of the field crew, and then a guy I would work with out in the field. And it, we was kind of in bed with Busick Construction, where the distilleries, it was a big boom, the whiskey boom. And so we was going around all over the state doing site plans, site surveys, staking warehouses, and got to do a lot of seeing in
Yeah.
there. But start getting older and start you know having kids, and like you start thinking like I want to, even though Bardstown's only 45-minute drive from me, it's like I want to start moving back home. I want
Mhm.
to get. I live here in Marion County. I'd like to work here locally and not have that drive, because my kids are. eh, Wife's going to need me to help pick up the kids some.
Mhm.
I need to start being there, and so just kind of started looking for a job, and um, did notice one for Lebanon Waterworks plant operator came up, and Mandy Spalding, she runs Lebanon Waterworks, the plant side of it, and so I sent my resume in, And I mean, it felt like within the hour of me sending in the resume, she gives me a call because
Yes.
she's just so happened is my neighbor
Okay, yeah,
and
yeah.
who is also married to Toby Spalding, which, we've been neighbors for a long time
Yeah,
and I've
for
worked with
sure.
him before. And, and she calls me and she says, "Joey, are you looking for a job? Because we didn't realize you would be looking for a job." And I was like, "Yeah." And, she says, "Well, I need to talk to Darren Thompson." Darren Thompson, good
Mhm.
friends that I grew up with that I went to ITT with, right?
Yes.
And he's the general manager at Lebanon Water, and he said, "Darren might have something for you that would be right up your alley, considering my construction background and AutoCAD stuff and all that." And so that's how I end
Yeah,
up, with Lebanon Waterworks.
yeah.
But as far as my job description, I like to think that uh, I'm that line at the bottom and all other duties.
Yeah.
I'm a person that and credit to both Lebanon and Springfield that we got a bunch of people that are willing to do whatever it takes because we're a utility, which is essentially a
Mhm.
nonprofit, right? But you got so much stuff that goes on that sometimes you just need to grab a shovel and scoop, right? Sometimes you need
Mhm.
to jump in the ditch, whatever the case might be. Sometimes you need to jump in a vehicle and run to Louisville, pick up parts,
Yes,
whatever. And that's the kind of teamwork that really makes companies go.
for
The
sure,
selflessness and the ability to do work as a team.
for sure.
But as a project manager, I guess duties can change, but something that's going on right now, we currently have one construction project going on in Lebanon. Uh, we will soon, within a couple 3 months, have a second started in Lebanon, and these are multi-million-dollar projects, installing water lines and replacing old cast iron water lines
Mhm.
and putting in new lines with new water meters and services. Um, in Springfield's really had a lot of waterline improvements because there's been a lot of road relocations
Mhm.
in and out, and we are about to begin replacing all of downtown Springfield. A few years back, before I came with Lebanon, they replaced the water lines in downtown Lebanon, and it's a big deal,
Mhm.
having to go in and start replacing old cast iron lines, putting in new lines and new services to improve water quality.
Mhm.
Um,
Now, how much, like, for a job like that, like, I mean, I would just assume it's just a ton of digging and, like, how much of the city, like, like, was this, like, all over the city that you were doing this, or was it broken up over time? Like, how do you approach a project like that?
uh, so to get started, first you gotta have some money, right?
Yeah.
You gotta get funding for this, and that's where what Darren's so great at. He is great at finding grant money, finding matching monies, finding. Uh, there's these agencies that you can go through to get money. Um, we're not the only people that's out there getting this, right?
Mhm.
And so, and then, you know, once you find avenues that you think you can get money, and maybe even before that, you put together what are called project profiles. And project profile would basically say we have a need of X, Y, and Z,
Mhm.
and you put those together to then try to predict how much money you do need,
Mhm.
and then to be able to go and secure that money. Um, But then once you put those project profiles and you take like Lebanon years ago before they replaced any of it, you had all these lines that are cast iron that are becoming of age, they're starting to leak, that are busting, that are uh, from years and years of use. A 6-inch main may now be narrowed down to like a 3-inch main. And so you start losing pressure. And no matter how good a quality of water we produce at the plant, if the lines delivering that water to your house aren't very good, then, you know, that's a problem.
Absolutely.
And so, and then there are other things too that you just don't normally think about. F Fire hydrants, that is a big thing, is, having the water to put out fires.
For sure.
And, uh, when was it? Just a couple years ago, you saw the catastrophe in California, right?
Oh, yeah.
And,
Yeah, oh, yeah.
and that was kind of, the news did what the news normally does, where they're not as educated on what what happens or what did or didn't happen, but um, you take a couple of oddball circumstances where if you have a water source that you're not using because maybe you're doing work to it, right? And I think in that case that they were repairing something that holds water, whether that's a lake or a
Mhm.
reservoir or something they was doing. But what happens is if you have house after house after house starting to burn, well, you're losing all that water pressure. And once that house burns, there's just water that's coming out in that house. And then
Yeah.
you start losing pressure. Then you don't have water.
So the it's almost like, and I should have put this together beforehand, but essentially, even like say there's a busted line in someone's house, in theory, that's lost pressure everywhere else.
In theory, yes. Granted, something that small
Right.
is not, but I'll give you an example of one. We had a leak in Springfield back last winter, and it was a main. I think it was a 12-inch main, which is a
Mhm.
big one. And you would think that, oh, if there's a 12-inch main leaking somewhere, you'd be able to see it, right? Well, when that main breaks in the middle of the night and it has been raining a lot, it might not be the easiest find. Come to find out, where it broke at was right beside a creek and
Yeah.
in the middle of the night. And so it busted, and all this water was going directly into that creek and flowing downstream.
Mhm.
So it makes it hard to notice. And so stuff like that's critical because you need to find out where that is so you can isolate it so that you do not drain your
Yeah.
system. Because uh, it's, I didn't realize this until I got into it, but it's a lot easier to drain the system than you would think. You know,
Mhm.
all it takes is a couple critical breaks or one big break and not being able to find it in time, and before you know it, you've lost more water than your plant can produce.
Yeah.
And so, um,
So when it's coming in from, it's not as simple as it's coming in from the water source and it's just going through it like a 1-for-1
no,
ratio.
no, you know, and just speaking from the plant side of it, I'm not the most educated person on
Yeah,
it,
yeah.
but from what I can depict, you will run your plant so many hours a day and produce so much water, and you will have what are called clear wells at the plant, which hold X amount of gallons. Then you also have your tanks throughout the system,
Yeah.
and then you'll fill your tanks up, and then that's how your pressure is created. You'll have high pressure pumps at the plant that pump to your elevated tanks that are generally in your high locations of your city or your water
Mhm.
system, and that's what holds the pressure on your lines. The lower that you are of those tanks, the more pressure you're going to have.
Okay.
If you're up there next to that tank, your water pressure may not be as high as somebody who's 2 miles away and 100 foot lower.
Yeah.
It's just that's the hydraulics part of it. So
Very, yeah. So again, like I just no idea.
right,
Yeah, the
and
intricacies of it
until I
all.
got in,
Yeah.
until I got into this world, and I'm young to this world, right?
Yeah.
I'm a year and a half and still learning every day, and
Yeah.
and the great thing about where I work at it, there's so many smart people, you know.
Yeah.
Uh, you, I can sit and ask them questions and know
Mhm.
that they're going to tell me the truth and that they're going to teach me. And uh,
And this is almost, I say there's not a dumb question, but I feel like this is almost a dumb question. How necessary is it for people in in the positions, like position that you hold and maybe adjacent positions, that they know what they're doing? How critical
oh
is it?
wow, like the position
Like for
like
yours
well,
and then
mate. All right, so for me, I'm more in the construction side of it. That
mhm.
might not be those, but I'm learning the rest of it, right?
Yeah.
And I can be used as a utility knife and can be put in pressure situations. But you take someone like a Mandy or a Darren that are responsible for everyone's water, or that know
Mhm.
those are some brilliant people. They know what they're doing. They've
Mhm.
been around. Even our distribution managers. They're very smart. They know the system. I mean,
Mhm.
you have Lebanon water, which is basically the city of Lebanon, the water there. But then you have Springfield water. It's the whole county of
Mhm.
Washington, and there are miles and miles and miles of pipe. There are valves, many fire hydrants, and you know, Scotty and his crew, they do a magnificent job of just, knowing their system, right?
Mhm.
And we've done some upgrades to the system, and they're when you do upgrades to the system, you almost have to relearn your system. Uh, One of the recent projects is the Danville interconnect to Springfield, as well as we put in a Lebanon interconnect. Now, you may ask yourself, why would you want to tie into other people's water sources, but realistically, to be smart, that's what we all need to do is we need backup water,
Mhm.
because who knows when your source water may
Mhm.
either end up contaminated, can get too dry,
Yeah.
right? Can Maybe there needs to be work done onto it,
Mhm.
but but who knows also too when you may have a water break and you might need to get water from other people.
Yes.
You need instant water. Uh, and so, like right now, Lebanon has an interconnect with Campbellsville.
Mhm.
So we purchased X amount of gallons from Campbellsville
Mhm.
every month. The connection between Lebanon and Springfield is what's called an emergency connection. We
Okay.
can turn it on in case of emergencies. And the way that it's set up right now, because it's the first phase of hopefully what's many phases of it, is that we can send water from Lebanon to Springfield because we're higher elevation, right? Uh, all it's going to take is a booster pump, and then we can flip that and would be able to send water from Springfield back to Lebanon. And so
Okay.
it's an emergency connection for
Yeah.
whenever things go bad.
So, like with Campbellsville, if we're purchasing so many gallons, like is that to make up for anything, or is that just kind of like good? Like we're just getting along with our neighboring community. Like what would is there a need being met with that? Like what?
There's a couple of needs being met. One, whenever you put an interconnect like that, so the Lebanon Springfield one's an emergency interconnect.
Mhm.
If you're not running water through that interconnect and selling water, you got to flush it.
Okay.
You can't just let it sit there and get stagnant. So the Campbellsville interconnect, we purchase water from them, um, and the water that we purchase from Campbellsville all comes out of Green River Lake.
Mhm.
Um, we sell all that water to one of our local distilleries, and the reason we do that is because distilleries like to have water that comes from the same source. They like consistency because they're constantly running tests on that water and they're constantly filtering it. And so they want consistency. Lebanon, we have two water sources. We have the Rolling Fork River and we have Fagan Branch Reservoir.
Mhm.
Depending on where you're pulling your water from, you get totally different. It takes totally different filtration to filter the water out of the river than it does
Mhm.
the lake, right? It's just
Mhm.
it's a different source. It's a different kind of water.
Yeah.
Uh, Now, coincidentally enough, I didn't know this, but when we are pulling it out of Rolling Fork, we are also filling up the lake. So we have the ability to pull water out of the river and put it in our reservoir.
Okay.
And so I know that there are people locally who have complained because why is the water so low in our reservoir? Because people use it for recreation. They go up there and fish and want to have a pretty nice lake, right?
Mhm.
And but the reality of it is it's owned by the city of Lebanon and it is a reservoir.
Mhm.
And we manage that reservoir no different than, let's say, the Kentucky Corps of Engineers
Mhm.
monitors Green River Lake or Kentucky Lake or all that for flooding and for, you know, we use it as a water source. And can we fill that lake? Absolutely we can, but it costs money to pump water up there.
Mhm.
And so there comes times where it does not financially make sense to pump water
Mhm.
up to that reservoir, because
Just to
ultimately
make it full.
just to make it full, because especially too, like this time of year right now being in January, what happens every spring? We start having flooding, right?
Mhm.
Well, if we're going to start pumping a bunch of water into that lake, knowing that
Mhm.
it's going to flood, then we've just spent all this money filling up a lake that's going to be full in a couple of months anyway.
Mhm.
And so, um, that's the educational part of it. That's
Yeah.
something I had no idea about.
And again, this is my own ignorance. Like I know, like ponds and stuff will turn over. Do like rivers or other sources that you all have? Do they have any shifts? I assume flooding will jack up the like the quality of water and stuff that goes into. Do you all have to adjust or account for that as well, or is this the way your system is? Whether the river is getting super muddy or it's just clean and pure as can be. Does your system stay the same, or like what goes
No,
in this?
it is a constant moving target.
Yeah,
Okay, and that's why the guys and ladies there at the plant are brilliant because for one, once it starts flooding and it's called turbidity, the murkier the water, the
yeah,
turbidity of it. Once the turbidity starts getting high, that's when we switch over to the lake. Okay, so if it starts flooding and stuff like that, we're not pulling off the river. So you kind of got if it's too much water, we're not pulling from it, and then once it drops below so much water, we're regulated by the state when we can pull out of that. So
okay,
once it hits, and I'm not sure the number, but once it hits a certain level that's flowing over the dam, we got to stop pulling over that because
okay,
during the dry season, then we start pulling from the lake, and that's kind of what dictates that. And the people at the plant are constantly monitoring it. You know,
mhm,
they're constantly seeing what it is that's coming in as raw water and what it takes to make that water as good as possible, be
yeah,
able to send out in the system. And they do a great job here. You know, the people at the plant do a great job of sending out. We got some great water here.
yeah,
I mean, we're fortunate. And part of the next project for Lebanon is we're putting in, well, for both Lebanon and Springfield, because Springfield has its own plant as well, is that we were doing a GAC system. So right now we're filtering the water out. We've got our filtration process and we're sending it out. We're about to add a secondary process, granulated carbon. So we're going to be polishing the water that we have now even more so before we send it
mhm,
out. So we're going to take the water that we got now and it's even going to be better. But there again, if you don't have the right infrastructure to get that good clean water from the plant to your house,
mhm,
you know, so it's a system wide thing.
yeah,
Yeah.
okay. So would you say that which ones can you talk about what's the bigger headache from the source to the plant or from the plant to, the consumer?
I honestly can't because I'm not as associated with the plant
Yeah,
and what their day to day.
fair enough.
I can't tell you. I would think though that it would be from the raw water through the plant
Yeah.
because I mean, uh, because of the regulatory things and such. When it comes from the plant to get it into homes, you're talking a lot of just basically infrastructure. You know,
Infrastructure, yeah.
it's basically making sure that everything's still connected and that's flowing
So
right.
how
So
many, like when Lebanon had the pipes replaced, like, or their lines replaced, like how many miles of lines do you think it was?
I would have to look it up and see, but it was basically I know here at your house was replaced at some point or another, many miles of it,
Mhm.
and so I would have to look that up to be honest with you,
Fair enough.
but it was for the most part all of downtown from what and that was before I got here, and this is what I've been told, and there are still more phases coming, right? The phase that we're working on right now is replacing some of the subdivisions up around the park
Mhm.
and stuff, and it's actually right here on North Spalding. We're still continuing the downtown, so we're not done with it. It's the way that it basically works from the way I gather, and I may be a little bit incorrect here, but basically, you put this project together, you think it's going to cost this much, and because you're talking years,
Mhm.
you're planning it right now. By the time you get it drawn, get it approved by Division of Water and all that, you might be 3-4 years down the road. Well, what it costs right now for a stick of pipe's not what it's going to cost 4 years from now,
Yeah.
and you really saw that hit for COVID. And
Yes.
so the projects that were being designed right before COVID or you might have budgeted for $4 million. Well,
Mhm.
now it comes time to put that pipe in the ground for $4 million. You can only do 60% of the project.
Yeah.
And so basically what you do is you go until you can't go and you
Yeah.
install what you can. Um, and then that goes on to your next project. Now you're picking up where you left off and just, um, being able to afford it, right?
Yeah.
And what happens too, getting to the money part of it, that there are grants and there are things that we try to apply for through the state, and we try to stay in conversations with our senators, with even Darren. He does a great job of going to DC and even talking to our representatives there about the importance of clean water and what
Mhm.
what challenges we have right here in Central Kentucky. And you can get water that way. Another way is to raise rates. You know, y- everybody that has water, you pay your bill. Well,
Mhm.
part of that money is going to install new infrastructure.
Yeah.
And something that we're doing is, you got depreciation, and what we're trying to do is, let's just say the lifespan of a pipe or water line, let's just say it's 50, 60 years. For even numbers, let's just say it's 100 years. It's
Okay.
not, but let's just say it's 100 years. Well, if it's 100 years, that means you need to be replacing 1% of your infrastructure every year to stay
Mm.
up to date.
Yeah.
And so you need to start planning for that, because the grant money and stuff is great, but what happens when it dries up? You know,
Yeah.
what happens if it's no longer available? And we might be coming to that situation right now.
Yeah.
There is a lot of programs that are being cut short. There's a lot of that are running out of money. And whenever you start talking about infrastructure, look at what other infrastructure out there. You got roads, bridges, stuff like
Mhm.
that are failing, and water's just another infrastructure.
Yeah. And then it comes down to the consumer to
And it does. And so if you do, as an organization and a company, if we treat it, you know, if you start planning, then you can have something in the future. But if it wasn't planned before and now you're just left with this aged water system,
Mhm.
you got to do something about it.
Yeah.
Now, okay, what are we going to do moving forward? Well, let's figure out the lifespan. How long will this water system last? Let's start planning that we're gonna replace 2% of our infrastructure every year.
Mhm.
Well, what does that cost? So now you start building building that up, and then eventually you get to where you're upgrading your system. And when I say every year, you might do a project every 3 years and do 6% of it, right? So
Right.
uh,
But on average.
but on average, right? What you want to do is not put yourself in a position to where you just have total. You get to a point where everything's just old and
Yes.
needs to be replaced, and
Mhm.
you don't have money.
Is there I mean, obviously everything over time will need to be replaced. So there would never really be an end point when it comes to the infrastructure. But, how like the stuff going into the ground now, we'll say, the infrastructure going into the ground now, what's its lifespan compared to what it's replacing?
There may be situations where its lifespan is less than what it's replaced.
Really?
And I say that maybe not so much here in Lebanon,
Yeah.
but you take in Louisville, there are, and I may be exaggerating a little bit. There are pipes that are over 100 years old there that are still
Mhm.
being used. I had talked to some construction people that were subs there in Louisville, and do work in Louisville, and I don't think it's still being used, but there's still
Mhm.
wooden pipes downtown Louisville. Now, like I said, I don't think they're being used, but here's another funny thing about, as far as materials and stuff like that. Uh, cast iron, cast iron can vary, and the reason why is because any of the pipes that were manufactured during wars, the metal wasn't near as good. And
Mhm.
so you think about that, like if you was installing infrastructure shortly after wars, or
Mhm.
whenever that happened, the the pipe that you were putting in the ground then hasn't lasted as long as the pipe that was in the ground before that.
Yeah.
And that just could be just because of material, right?
And cutting corners and stuff like
Well,
that or
possibly, the best metal went
yeah.
into building tanks or
Yes.
whatever needed to be done there. And that's just a small example. When we have PVC now, um, the lifespan of PVC pipe a lot of times has to do with how good was it installed.
Yeah.
Because what we're finding out, and this isn't a secret to anybody in the water world, but if you set PVC pipe on solid rock, it's going to split at some point. It's going to
Really?
break. Yes, you anytime you put rock or put pipe on solid rock, you're going to have problems. And so that's what happened. You had I think in Springfield, whenever they installed years ago a bunch of that water line throughout the county, whenever they got grants to put all that in, well, the contractor just went in there and dug till he hit rock, set it on solid rock, thinking no problem. Backfilled with rocky soil, and moved on. Well, now here we are. Once a month or once every couple months, we'll have a pipe break out in the county most of the time because it's sitting on rock.
Is it just the stress
It,
and the rock shifting and that stressing it, or
it could, well, a lot of times it could be just the unevenness of the ground. So
yes,
the rock might be at a pinch point, or there might be a crown over a
okay,
hill,
yeah,
and just that rock over time, that pressure of that pipe just sitting there,
yes.
and it cracks it. And then what it'll do is it'll split.
So it's better to just lay it and flatten,
Well,
plane it out, kind of.
so the practice is now is that you bed it. You bed it with what like number 9 small rocks, and you'll put like 6 or 8 inches underneath the pipe, and then you'll put 12 inches on top of it. So where it's not that solid rock, it can sit in there.
Yeah.
And it's bedding per se.
Yeah.
And so
that I wasn't talking. I want to make it clear. I wasn't talking about playing in a rock, but
yeah.
So playing it, the ground and just making sure it's all flat. And the bedding and all that good stuff for sure. So let's see. Well, I'm not going to edit that out. I'll just leave that error in there. Me dropping my pen.
Oh, you're good.
So, is there anything coming up for Lebanon anything coming up for Lebanon that you're aware of, or any projects or anything?
Yeah. We're deep in the middle of projects right now.
Yeah.
Lebanon and Springfield both, and that's because we're being very proactive, right? We're trying to in Springfield, there's a lot of water loss downtown, and so water loss, I guess to put it simply, is the difference between water that's calculated that we produce and to water that's sold. So, for example, we'll produce. Let's throw even numbers out there. Let's say we produce 1 million gallons a day, right? And if we only sell 800,000 gallons a day, then you've got 200,000 gallons of water loss, which would be 20%. 20% water loss is high. You want to be at 0, obviously.
Yeah.
But if you are in single digits, you're doing really good.
Do you know of any communities that do have that, or?
Oh, we have. So right now in Lebanon, we have water loss at around, I'm wanting to say 7 to 8%.
Okay.
So we've done a good job. Now, and to back up a little bit too, what also goes in those calculations are flushings, stuff like that, water that's accounted for. So we can account for flushing fire hydrants and flushing water lines, and because we use water at the plant too to clean filters and stuff like that. We can calculate all those, and we can account for those gallons. So it's not just water that we've sold, but it's water that we're accounting for. The water loss would be water that is essentially leaking out of the system. It could be leaks that are spread out through the system. It could be one leak that's somewhere that we don't know about. It could be, it could actually be stolen water. Now, you may not think, how do people steal water?
I can imagine.
It happens, and it's. I'm not saying that anybody is stealing water, or they're not, and they could be doing it not knowing it. But what happens sometimes, and I don't know that it's happening because 8% is a pretty good number, but you could have factories that could have fire suppression systems. And if they sometimes are tapped into those to fill up this or that, and fire suppression systems for the most part are not monitored.
Yeah.
So they're just tied directly in the system. And so it's kind of like the honor system.
Yeah.
And so for the most part, new industries and new fire systems and stuff like that, you can't you wouldn't be able to tap into it
Mm,
and use water without alarms going off and stuff like that.
yeah.
However, there might be some places out there, some manufacturers that will pull water off of that fire line for cleaning purposes or for
Yeah.
whatever. And I'm not saying that anyone in our water district is doing it, but it happens throughout the state. That
For
it does
sure.
happen.
I could imagine that.
And so, so getting a handle on your water loss is key because um, it's a lot of money. And
So, I mean, the only way to detect that would be the cost going up, I guess, right? Like, or knowing the expenses, like or I guess what you, if they're directly tapped into the system, but you said you wouldn't know necessarily who it was, so it wouldn't be like reading a specific meter. So,
correct. So there are things that we can do. We can start monitoring. We can get these, and I may be calling these the wrong thing, but these could be mobile meters, right? We could
mhm,
dig down on certain water lines and put this meter on a line. If we know that this line is going to a factory or something like that, and we know that this is tied to a fire suppression line and there should be no water moving through that unless there's a fire, we can put these meters on it, leave it there for a week and come back and read the data and see,
yeah,
oh, there's water going through this line.
yeah,
And then, at that point, we would reach out to them because quite frankly, they may not know it.
yeah,
It could be even a leak on that line, right? It could be a leak on that fire suppression line.
yeah, for sure.
Uh, but likely not. But that's just one way. But the guys that they've seen some other, I guess, ingenious ways to steal water.
Mhm,
You've seen people bypass water meters and
mhm,
tie in and steal like that. But a lot of times the water loss comes down to leaky pipes
yeah,
more than anything. And so when you have an old infrastructure with a lot of leaky pipes, a lot of leaky fire hydrants, valves, and it just adds up.
for sure.
It adds up. And so we're making a very conscientious effort in Springfield to get those numbers down. Um, by replacing the water lines downtown, we hope that really helps a lot.
Yeah,
Um, there's another local water company entity that a way that they helped get their water loss down was they had a lot of old aging water meters, and what was happening is that the water meters were not reading correctly. So if if we're selling you X amount of gallons a month, but we're only recording 60% of that and you're only getting a bill for 60, well, that's water loss.
yeah,
And so you go swap out all these meters and all of a sudden your bill jumps up and the
yeah,
consumer's going, what's happened? Well,
yeah,
you've been getting free water for a while
yeah.
now.
I don't know, I've never seen an issue with water. I always see the issue with utility, more like, but that's completely different ball game than for you. But with like electrical
Mhm.
costs and stuff going up at
Surcharges.
certain, yeah, certain times. But no. Um, so how much of like would you call it like modernization? Is that what you would call these projects? Just getting them up to date, up to par with the most modern standards, or is it like like with what you did with downtown Lebanon? Is that considered like the standard for today's day and time, or is it?
Oh, well,
Or is it?
you want to do
Yeah,
the most recent practices that you can afford, right?
that's what I was gonna.
There are there are different kind of meters that you can get. There are meters that will read that we can read straight from the office every month. There are meters that you can get that you can do hourly readings on,
Mhm.
which come in very handy if, for example, Lisa does a great job of this, but we can monitor if we can see that there's you're using more water than normal. We can do some hourly reads and tell if you're doing a leak. And you say, well, how can you tell that? Well, most of the time people don't use water in the middle of the night.
Right.
And so if we can do some hourly reads and we see that, hey, you're using 100 gallons an hour, you might have a leaky toilet or you
Yeah.
might have something going on, and we can call. And sometimes, a lot of times that doesn't happen right away because it's got to get noticed.
Mhm.
So it usually, how it gets noticed is, well, now all of a sudden you got a high water bill. Well, why do you have a higher water bill than normal? Let's look into it. We'll
Mhm.
help you. And so that's something we're constantly uh, trying to put information out there to people. And I mean, most people, it's like me, right? If you put a note on a utility bill that can help you save,
Mhm.
what do you do with the utility bill? You look at it and you pay it and you go on.
Yeah.
You're not reading the, hey, check your toilets, or it's coming up wintertime. You may want to put a drip on just to keep pipes from freezing and stuff like that. But we try to still put it out there.
Mhm.
If we can put as much information out there to share with our customers and with the public, and they don't take advantage of it,
Mhm.
that's kind of on them and not us. But we want to do our best to help people to not have a high water bill,
For sure.
because we're all customers ourselves.
Yeah. I was thinking you talk about leaving a drip on, and there's really probably no way to explain the right amount, but like what is the right amount of drip? Because I've seen like just a little, you know, like that, or I've seen it people just like,
Right.
and I'm like, I don't know, like, what's going to keep me from getting busted without jacking up my
Right.
water bill.
Yeah, I don't know that there would be a standard per se, but if you drip, drip, drip,
Yeah.
drip, that would probably be, and
Yeah.
it depends on how cold it gets too, right? If it drops in the teens for a night, you're probably not going to have any problems. But if it's going to be in the teens for a week, you might have problems.
Yeah.
Even on well prepared areas,
Yes.
even if you have good insulation and stuff like that, even if you have a new house, you could still have air getting in and freezing pipes. So
Yeah.
it's and if you leave a drip on, it's
Mhm.
not gonna break the bank either
What
on
about
your water
like
bill.
this weather that we've had where it's been like 50 for a day and then down into the 30s and 20s and then 50 for a day, kind of like every other day. Is it necessary then?
No, not at all, because you know, and it depends on different circumstances there. Me thinking about pipes actually freezing and breaking in our system, it's got to get cold for a long time, and that
Yeah.
frost has to get down deep into the ground,
Gotcha.
and then the line has to be shallow,
Yeah.
right? Because we put our lines in. Any new lines we install 36 inches deep. It's
Mhm.
not, frost line here is not going to get that low. But if you have a shallow line going into your house, uh, temperature does dictate. And
Yes.
if I would say that if you're getting frozen lines and it's just in the upper 20s for a night or two, then you probably really got a problem that you
Yeah.
probably need to get some heat tape or something to put on your water line, or maybe get some bales of straw or something, and do some insulation. But
Yeah.
um, no, I would only, for the most part, be concerned when you're looking and you're seeing that it's going to stay below freezing for an extended period of time.
Yeah.
Uh,
Multiple days.
Multiple days,
Yeah.
correct,
For sure.
correct.
No, that
But
makes a lot more sense.
also too, if maybe if you're not using very much water either, right?
Mhm.
You would just leave it on a drip. So
Yeah. That's what I try to do here. Just a little drip in the bathroom and then
yeah,
kitchen sink and call it a day.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
So, tell me about, are you good to talk about family?
Yeah, I'm fine. Yeah,
Or is there
no,
anything that
there's
job-wise that you didn't get to talk about that you wanted to talk about?
uh. No, I mean, I can talk about it all day. I'm pretty passionate about it, and there's
Yeah.
probably a lot of boring stuff that goes on there, but just the main thing is got a great I'm fortunate to work with some great people that, uh, you know, that, because at work, that's basically a family. Those are people that you spend as much time there as you do with your family, and I'm fortunate enough to work
Oh,
for
I 100% agree with
some
that
great
statement
people. Yeah,
about work,
yeah.
family being a family, and yeah. So when did you and your wife when did you meet?
Funny story. she's actually she's the younger sister of a friend of mine a friend of mine, but I never knew that he had a sister. So
Okay.
she stayed hidden, and she and I, we've got there's 9 years difference between us. So she's 9 years younger than I
Okay.
am. And so just knew of her once I realized who she was and all that. She was how I met her, or how we kind of got together, was that she was dating an acquaintance or someone I knew, someone I would call a friend, but not, you know, not friend enough to be bro code,
No, I got you. I
like so.
get, I get you.
And so, they kind of split up, and I remember seeing her, and I told her, I said, I'm a great rebound date.
Oh,
And
I appreciate that. Yeah.
yeah, you can but she's gonna kill me for this. But no, I knew who she was. I knew her family was great. I knew, even though I didn't know her, I knew what kind of person she was, and so she and I dated for 6 months, and I asked her to marry me, and
Yeah.
so we get married, and uh, I guess can't say the rest is history because we're still making history, but uh, we've and this is something that I don't mind talking about. I don't think she would mind me talking about, but like, we had a hard time having kids.
Hmm.
Like, just it just wasn't happening for whatever reasons, and so we wasn't for my lack of trying, obviously, but
Hmm.
so we decided to go down a few avenues, but end up doing in vitro, right? And
Hmm.
so ended up fortunate enough to having some embryos, and tried a few, and had, few didn't make it or whatever, and had an in vitro, and then finally had Lucy, and it took, and she's about to be 9 years old now. Then 2 years later, we had Lexi,
Hmm.
right? And she's 2 years behind her, and then at that point, we wasn't discussing having any more kids or anything like that, but uh, didn't think we was ever going to have one natural, but then we did, and
Yeah.
we had little Joey, and he was natural, and fortunate enough to have all those.
Yeah.
But
And what's the age difference between him and Lexi?
so they're all 2 years apart.
All 2 years
They're
apart.
all
Okay.
2 years apart, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That
And,
sounds almost like a little divine.
right.
Inter
Well, the thing is like, let's get them in diapers and keep them in diapers.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
let's see them through this whole process, and uh, they're, it's funny. Like I said, I'm older. Here I am, 40, about to be 46 or 47, 47, I think. And I have a 40-year-old, right? Which,
Mhm.
that there are older people that have younger kids than me, but but now I was going to a play with my daughter there, and I saw a gentleman that I knew, and he said, "Hey, are you here with your grandson?" Like, no, no,
Uh,
that's my son. So I'll be that guy that's in the stands. Hey, wave to your granddaddy. No, that's my daddy.
uh, no, it's just it doesn't matter what anybody thinks, man.
No, and you know, there's children are a blessing. Life is a blessing, right?
Mhm.
And the way I see it, you can have there's give and takes. If you have children when you're young, uh, you get to you can play with them.
Yes.
You feel like probably playing with them more. And something that I didn't realize, even like so with my dad. My mom and dad had me when their young 20s, right? Like, we grew up together
Mhm.
essentially. Whenever your dad's 40, 42, and you're 20, I mean,
Right.
y'all are both in your prime. You can conquer the world, right?
Yes.
And so looking back, you're like, really, we kind of grew up together.
Yeah.
And so, and we, me, I waited, or just so happened that didn't have children until a later age. But the great thing about that is, I think that I can appreciate them a lot more, and
Yeah.
appreciate the small things. And maybe I don't get near as worked up as I would have when I was in my 20s.
Yeah.
But there's some give and take to that too, as well. Maybe at this age, I'm not as energetic to go out
Yeah.
and uh, to play, but maybe I'm financially better as well.
Yeah.
So there's some give and take.
I would assume there's still ways to be present, even if it's not.
Oh, absolutely, and I'm there, present,
Yeah.
playing it. Just you know, getting down on the floor and playing
Yeah.
might not be, but I
Yes.
do, and I love it. And like I said, I'm a lot better father now than I probably would have been.
Mhm.
But I could also see, was talking to one of the coworkers that she wanted to have her kids early so that whenever she did get older, that she could still be young
Mhm.
and have her kids all grown out. And I can 100% appreciate that as well,
Yeah.
right? Because I'll be pushing 60 when my youngest gets out of high
Yeah.
school. So,
Yeah.
uh,
Yeah. Yeah. And I don't have children of my own, so but I'm 34, so what would that put me at, 40 or 52 if I had, yeah, if I had one
it's yeah,
right now,
yeah,
50. So I mean, not too far away.
yeah. But it's I mean, you know, that's something too as you get older and understand is like just how big of a blessing children are, and
Mhm.
even just people in
Mhm.
general, how important life is, and
Mhm.
you know, it's you know, if my if one of my children came to me and were to be pregnant at a young age, I would not I would love it.
Mhm.
You give the support that you can, and no, life doesn't happen. Life happens,
Mhm.
and it's going to
Life,
happen.
dude, life, and I wish people understood that life, you can want things to be a certain way, but
Right.
life is going to life.
Absolutely. And guess what? You can plan as much as you can plan, but I'm here to tell you, I was 38 years old when that first baby came, and I was just as scared as a 16-year-old having a baby. I
Yeah.
promise you that I still had no idea. And
Yeah.
it's one of those things that you just got to live through it.
Yeah.
You can try, people tell you what to expect, people tell you, but you just got to live it. And you know, it's different. So.
Do you feel like, you talked about being older as well. Like, do you feel like personality wise and just who you are as a person, that was more sorted out than it would have been if you'd had a child at a younger age? And if so, like, I would obviously feel like that's a good thing for you to have yourself, who you are, what you're about, the kind of person that you're going to be, your values and morals.
Right, but, hell, I'm still not grown up, right?
Hey,
Inside of
fair
every
enough.
every
I'm
si
not either.
inside of every older person's a young person saying, "What the hell
Yeah.
happened?" Right? But,
Yeah.
no, I guess, let's just say I was able to get married at a younger age, and have kids, or if I did,
Yeah.
it would have forced me to grow up a lot quicker. And when I
Yeah.
say grow up, maybe, maybe I wouldn't have had the experiences that I did have, right?
Mhm.
But also there would have been different experiences. But I mean, the thing is that I, when you look back and once you have kids, you're like, I wouldn't have it any other way.
Mhm.
There is nothing looking back. There's nothing that I would change because then it might have resulted in me not having the children I have now,
Mhm.
right? And so I think that's the way that it happens is once you have children, just because that's one of the sayings, once you have kids, everything changes.
It's
Well,
a new level of
that's
responsibility.
it's well, it's a new level of. I mean, you do care about other people, right? But when you have kids, you're going to care about them. You're going to care about them more than you ever cared about yourself,
Mhm.
right? And
It's a new level of love.
it is. It is a very yeah, yeah. It's a love that's you just can't explain it, and you have it, and you always have it, and
Mhm.
of course,
Maybe you don't need to explain it either. Maybe it's just,
yeah, it's one of those things. But and two, now get a little philosophical or whatever, but like, how you love your kids too is, from men to women, how you have women who are motherly and they nurture, right? And you
Mhm.
got the fathers that are a lot of times that are and it's funny because usually the father will roughhouse and maybe be a little rougher with the kids and be more so to do things with them that the mother wouldn't as comfortable, but it works out great in the sense that sometimes you get to be bad cop, good cop kind of deal
Yeah.
too, right? You get, because when it comes to, for me, something is like being sympathetic. That's not something
Mhm.
I'm very good at. That's not something that comes natural to me.
Really? You seem like you would be a very sympathetic
Mm-mm.
person.
No, I'm kind of the type that, like, you make the bed you sleep in kind of deal,
Okay.
and, like, hey, if we warned you to not do something, you did it anyway, and you got hurt, then that's on you, bud.
Hey, fair enough.
Now, do I feel, and I may be wrong using these definitions, empathy,
Mhm.
maybe so a little bit, but when it comes to, from feeling bad for
Mhm.
certain results, and everybody parents differently, and the parenting that I like the most, well, I'll back up a little bit and say, like, even like my dad, he he would tell me things not to do or what to do, and, as I got older, I realized how much smarter he got as he got older.
Yeah.
But really, he knew the whole time, and my dad, he allowed us, he allowed us to mess up.
Yes.
That's a hard thing as a parent sometimes, is to allow your kid to fail
Mhm.
and then be there for them, but be like, "All right, do it your way if you're not gonna listen to me."
Yeah.
And I find myself parenting somewhat like that. You know, uh, my oldest daughter, she'll be 9. She's starting to get, what 9 years old do, right? And whenever she has an opportunity to do something good or bad, I basically lay it out there for her. Hey, here's what your situation is. You can either do A, and this is what's going to happen if you do it, or you can do B, and this is what's going to happen.
Mm.
You can make the choice either way.
Yeah.
And then, sometimes you look good because that's what
Mhm.
happens, right?
Yeah.
But no, that you kind of need both. You can't have two hard asses and you can't have two softies
No,
as
you gotta
parents.
have yeah, you have to have good cop, bad cop, but both cops
Yeah.
have to love the kid. And I say that as a non-parent. I just know what the research and literature says on it. I mean, both parents have to be able to love their kid, and I have no doubt based off what you're telling me that you love your
Oh
kids.
yeah, absolutely. Well, and something too. Hey, I mean, we learn every day, right? Learn through,
Mhm.
my wife and we've been married 16 years, and I'm learning more and more. Uh, I watch a lot of little YouTube clips and stuff, but something that I'm at the stage of learning is that the better that my wife and I can treat each other, the better it is for our kids.
Yeah.
We're not unlike any other couples that have our differences and disagreements and all that. And sometimes you don't think, and you let that show in front of the kids, right? And they wear that,
Yeah.
and they could tell they get heartbroken. I remember being a
Mhm.
kid and being heartbroken when mommy and daddy fought. And
Mhm.
now I'm at the point that I'm doing it, and I got to catch myself. And, the more even just hugs that you show and love that you
Yeah.
show, the better it is. The more, and it's not so much a scared issue. I think it's more of a being comfortable or being secure that
Right.
nothing's going to happen because
Right.
mommy and daddy are together and they're a team. You
Right.
know, sometimes teammates argue, right?
Sometimes teammates
Sometimes
argue.
teammates argue, and that's okay.
It
It
is. And again, I'm not speaking of this as a parent. I'm just speaking of this as a practitioner. Like, do they see mommy and daddy, you know, you know, make amends or get back get back to being able to get along and things like that. And if
uh,
so, that matters the most.
it does.
Yeah.
It does, and that's where I do a bad job of not. Well, I'm doing a better job. But I've recognized it, right? Maybe before I care less if we had a fight and then we didn't talk for 2 days, right? It
Yeah.
wouldn't bother me. Would not bother her either. Maybe she enjoyed it, but for the kids' sake, they need to see that we're on the same team,
Yeah.
and we don't need to be fake about it either.
Right.
I mean, because they'll pick up on fake just as they know whenever something's not right, and so it's just the next phase, the next learning, you start getting closer, This is an
Mhm.
opportunity for me and my wife to become to get closer and make our kids even that much better, right?
Yeah.
Because at this point, it's really not about us.
Yeah.
I mean, really, uh, it is, but it ain't.
It
So
is. It is, but it seems to me that it would be about you too, but it would be for them.
right, and the more that we make it for them and we do the right thing, it'll be better for us.
Yes.
It's a snowball effect,
Yeah.
and so and some of that there again is just living and learning and not
Mhm.
being through that experience, and Stephanie and I have, and don't if I get too winded or
No,
whatever,
you're
if I,
good, bro. You're good.
we haven't we, we're not unlike any couple where we've had our stressful situations. Now we're blessed, right?
For sure.
Are some of our situations could be way worse. We see it and pray for people like that every day, but just the stressful of not being able to get pregnant, right? That's a big thing for
Mhm.
on our marriage. It's one thing to be able to have fun and
Yeah, I get you.
enjoy the
I
sex
get you.
life and all that, but it's another whenever you're being forced upon it and you're trying so hard because you so desperately want to create life.
Yeah.
You had that situation, and we got through that situation, and then I don't know. I think I told you about the tornado, right?
No, you didn't well,
Okay.
if you have,
Well,
you didn't tell
I
me
can't.
today.
I didn't tell you, but was you there the first day of leadership?
Leadership, no,
No.
I
Okay.
was I
So you
wasn't
did miss.
unable to
So
be
you missed out on
wasn't able
that.
to be.
So all right. Well, this is kind of a different story then. Uh, in 2019, we decided to build a new house on our farm. Right, build a new house. It was great. Started. I took time. I built a lot of it myself. Did a lot of
Mhm.
stuff. Put a lot of time and effort into it, and we moved into it October of 2020. Uh, and that's then 2021. Joey was born
Mhm.
in July of 2021. December, um, thinking the December the 11th. It's whenever the Maysville tornado hit.
Yeah.
Well, it ripped us. It came through us too. So there at 3:30 that night, little Joey or my, we had a newborn and the winds and stuff were bad. So wife was in our master bedroom with all the kids that night and they were sleeping and I was just upstairs sleeping because whenever you have a young one, you're trying to sleep anywhere at any time that you can.
Yeah.
And so I was upstairs and, the we knew all the storms were coming through and get the alarm at 3:30 and wake up and tornado's on its way and I'm standing upstairs looking out the window because that's what guys do, watch storms,
Yeah.
and then just it just like everything stopped for a second, my ears popped and it's like bam, is
Yeah.
the tornado hit and I start to dart down the steps, and when I do, I feel the steps lift up, and
Oh my goodness, man.
I dive after, I probably missed this last 8 to 10 steps and just or maybe not 8 to 10, 6 or 7, and I hit the wood floor and slide across it, and, stand up, I beat on the door and grab them, and we jump in the bedroom. Well, the tornado comes on through, and, uh whenever I felt like the steps was lifting up, it had pulled up the top of our house and it was lifting me up. And I just but it was over that side and but I grabbed the kids and we jump in there and it blows over and the wife was still asleep. She'll joke and say, "No, I was awake," but I woke her up.
Yeah.
And it took her a while to and me to realize too, but I walk outside the bedroom and there's just water coming inside the house, just rain because it was hammering rain. And I step outside to what was my carport and I just see nothing but daylight. My garage is gone. And, I can just tell that we was hard hit and the tornado hit us directly dead on. And so made the call to my dad. My dad lived I mean, half mile from me, but right off the road there to come pick us up because our vehicles were trapped inside and all that. And my farm's about a mile and a half wide. I had barns on both ends, and the barn at the south end of the farm, which was a half mile from my house, it blew it due east. The barn that was a quarter of a mile to the north of my house blew it due west.
Jesus.
So that was the spinning, that was
Yeah.
that. And but Dad came and picked us up, and the tornado, the tornado itself, it basically it decapitated our house, half of it, and that the damage from that was bad enough, but the rain is what dumping 6 inches of rain inside your
Absolutely.
house.
Yeah, it's going to
That's
ruin more
right.
than I mean, like the tornado didn't
Right.
do enough.
Right. And that's a house that I had just built a year and a half ago that I had spent, you know, you know, but of course that whole tragic thing, that was a blessing because we was all alive. My kids were safe. Um, I was, Dad came and picked us up in the side by side. We knew all the barns were destroyed. Every barn that we had, all of our farm we did a little bit of ride through, but then I got the wife and kids to town, and I knew that they were safe, and I had me a little 2-minute oh's me crying session. And it's like, well, let's go get to work, right? Let's wait for daylight. Let's see how bad it is, and uh, and so I did, and I came back, and well, let's do what you do, right? Let's pick up the piece, and here's, I go back to a guy I went to school with, Jason Elder, who went to ITT with me there. Well, he's my insurance agent.
Yes.
And he meets me out there at daylight. I mean, he's great. Thank God for Farm Bureau because, without them, who knows, right? But the adjuster comes out and he says, look, he says, if you was the only house, we would sit here and nitpick you to death, but we're going to be looking at thousands of homes across Kentucky. And so we know that it's basically a total loss, and we're going to treat it that way. And we're just going to stay in touch on everything else. And so, that cost, with all the, cause you had barns and stuff too. And my barns were underinsured, right? Cause whenever you think about insuring your barns, you think fire. Oh, if it burns down, what are you going to do? Well, so like we had a shop building or a barn that we had insured for $10,000. When I built that back, it cost me $60,000 to build. And so that's where I got, that's where it really hurt me at.
For sure.
And because nobody ever thinks about that you're going to lose all 4 of your barns.
Right.
You think that you're going to lose one. And if you lose one and it costs you an extra $30,000 or $40,000, so what? You eat it, and you plan, and you save up some money, and you budget. But when you have 4 of them that do that, and now you're putting back, and now all of a sudden you're down $140,000. Yeah,
up shit's creek.
You're up shit creek, and but I was fortunate. I had savings, right? I had retirement, and that's the reason why I know how much that tornado cost me, because it cost me all my retirement.
Yeah,
and
that's right.
But
it's awful.
You know what you do though? You pull it out, and you go on. And
well, it makes me think to what you said. We'll work for money, for money, right?
Yeah, we'll work for money.
But that was the pattern that you followed growing up, right? It's like you went from one job, it didn't work. Okay, I'm just going to go on to the next. Absolutely. And so that really, I'm not saying that is what played out, but I think you have a case of making that argument that played out. It's just like, okay, here, have this session, because you do need those little, even if it's for 2 or 3 minutes, however long, you need those moments.
Yeah. Oh, it was me.
and then okay, what are we going to do? Yep. What's the next right thing? What's the next best thing? Right. And it's got you. Do you feel like it's gotten you through that? Are you still working through those losses? Or
I mean, it still hurts the pocketbook a little bit, but just because it how can I say this? It hurts my feelings. No. It hurts my feelings because I knew, that I had that money, that nest egg, but guess what? It was an emergency, and that was an emergency sometimes. And I may, and looking at it too, then, what happened basically is that we had a clean slate. Dad came, it was at the time mine and Dad's farm, and Dad said, look, he said, if you ever wanted to get out of farming, he said, now would be the time to do it. Here your house is destroyed. Every barn you got is laying on the ground. All the hay that's in those barns are soaking wet. You got 5 miles of fence that you're going to have to fix. He's like, and me being the stubborn farmer that I am, I said, nope, I think I want to still farm. and that's that's something that once it gets in your blood, you just it's a culture thing, right? And so I was like, no, we're going to keep on keeping on. And so the fortunate side of that is that God presented me a clean slate. What is it that you want to do now? And you got to sit there and really think, like, okay, what is it? You have your bare minimum. Like, okay, obviously I love where I live. I just built this house here. I want to, I love the house. I'm going to rebuild it right back the same. There's a start. I do, the insurance company paid in full. But here's where I say that here's the part that you didn't realize. So when I built that house in 2019 and in 2020, interest rate was at 2.25%.
Oh yeah.
I borrowed that money and whatever it was, how many $100,000 it was, at 2.25%. When I get that insurance check, I have to pay that loan off. And then I have to get another loan, construction loan, and start building back. By the time I get my house built back the second time after the tornadoes, interest rates were already up to 4.65%.
So which just doubled your interest.
I just doubled my interest rate. Which don't get me wrong, 4.65% is still good
today.
Today, yes, but I was half of that,
yeah,
right? And I was locked in for
you were a quarter of what it is today.
Exactly. And so that was a hidden expense right there that you just don't think about.
Yeah,
that I'm having to pay that much more interest on my house payment than what I was previously. And it's, I'll never get that money back. And then there were other things too that you don't think about in a tornado. For example, like I live back off the road there a little bit, about half a mile. And I had spent probably $10,000 or $12,000 getting my roadway the way that I want it, with gravel and all that. Well, what happens now? You're starting to bring concrete trucks back in through there. You're starting to bring vehicles, and basically I beat that road all to hell again. What we had already graded out and was a good road. Well, now you have to go back and spend that other 10 or 12 grand to get that road back built again. And grass, you got all these areas that you're cleaning up wood from, that you're going through, and you got vehicles in and all that. Now you're going back into seeding and strawing, and there's just a lot of there's a lot of stuff that you don't think of. I mean, the woods here, it's been 4 years since the tornado. We're still cleaning up. We're still pulling tin out of trees. We're still, and we'll be doing it for the next 4 or 5 years. And I'm fortunate enough, I have an excavator, so I can do it. I can do that kind of thing. But, keep on keeping on. Right?
Yeah.
Feel sorry for yourself. But we, like I said, we were blessed that, because there were people that didn't live. There were people that didn't survive those tornadoes. And, we were fortunate enough, and we're great that we have the community that we do, the support. We had a lot of people help us come and clean up and do whatever it is, not just us, but our neighbors and everything. So, long story, but that gets back, one of those things that, normal marriages don't go through, right?
Right.
And I mean, normal marriage is stressful enough.
It's not a normal marriage event for sure.
Absolutely not. Now, I mean, some people it happens, but at the flip side of that, there are much, much worse things that happen with marriages, whether it be the loss of a child,
absolutely,
or the loss of, you could lose your job and not get some, or family. There are so much worse things, but that's just part of it.
Yeah. Absolutely. Well, dude, I appreciate you coming out, and we covered so much more than I anticipated we would, and I'm so glad that for the last episode in here, this was the one that we got to do, because we covered so much, and I learned a lot. I know you, but now I feel like I know you.
Right.
And that's awesome, man. And I pray for nothing but the best for you. And I don't have an answer for why things got hard, because to say they got hard is almost not a slap in the face, but they got very difficult for you. And but the thing of it is you I would say it's not beyond the realm of possibility that God is, if he's not restored in some way, there will be some that there will be something. I feel like, and I'm I'm not prophesying
All right,
great
right.
things for you or anything, but like I can't imagine you having to lose and then like I feel like let's just say I feel like there are so many better days ahead, and right now it's just the getting through,
Oh yeah,
you know.
and I mean, I hope that people don't think I dwell on it, because I really don't, because I wouldn't be where
Hmm.
I'm at now. And hey, the positive things are that everything on my farm is brand new.
Yeah.
But you know, uh, and I don't wish that upon anybody. But it was that day, that day of the tornado was a blessing.
Hmm.
It really was, and I look at it as such, and so does everybody, all my
Because you
family
walked
members.
away
Oh
with
yeah.
your treasures.
Oh,
You
absolutely.
know.
And when there's a lot of people that didn't, and I mean, and I'm blessed to have good people around me,
Yeah.
have a good job and good friends. So,
Yes, absolutely.
uh, but yeah, that's just a little blimp.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, man. Well, let's get you out of here and get you home to your family, okay?
Appreciate you.
All right, appreciate you.